Wake up from your dreams. It's Pinball Dreams. It's Amigos. Everything Amiga. $2.99. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
Today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Pinball Dreams.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Aaron, we all have pinball dreams.
Mm.
Some of your pinball dreams have come true.
That's true.
But if you're anything like most pinball guys I know, there's always that machine that got away. There's always that grail machine. If you had to choose one pinball machine not currently in your collection that you just love to have, what would it be?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. I was taking advantage of the services on the TeamSpeak regulars last night on our Discord. I was talking to our good buddy Brock, and Brock is a big pinball aficionado, and he had a big video, just that table after table after table. We were just discussing them amongst ourselves with a few other fellas. And I did think about it quite a bit. It's like, what would I add to the collection? Because there are some I would add just because I like the theme, but I don't necessarily like the table. And there are some that I like the table, but I'm not real big on the theme. And then some I'd say are crap.
Mm-hmm.
If I had unlimited wad, I would probably go out and get the Twilight Zone pinball machine. Now, I love the Twilight Zone show.
Yeah.
And I love Rod Serling, and I love that. The pinball machine I like, but it's not what I would call my favorite pinball machine. It's good. It's one of the all-time great machines, but it's not my favorite pinball machine. If I was going to go out and buy my favorite pinball machine, it would probably not be that expensive, because probably my all-time favorite pinball machine is probably Taxi, as you know. I love that machine. I'm a big fan of that one. And another one I like that's pretty popular is Medieval Madness. It's a really good playing machine. So I would say those three would be definitely in my wheelhouse. I've got a couple that I really like. So you're right, I'm lucky to actually own physical pinball machines. What about you? I know you've got the one. Do you have a machine that you really dig that you don't have?
Well, this is, it's funny with pinball machines. I'm probably more than most. I don't know about more than most, because I'm sure there are a ton of people like me too. But if the theme is not something I'm into, I'm not going to be into the machine. Like, I know everybody raves about the Johnny Mnemonic pinball machine.
Yes.
Listen, if I have to look up into the eyes of Johnny Mnemonic, I'm not playing.
Yeah,
I'm not playing.
I'm right there with you on that one. There's a bunch of those that people like really are really good machines, but like Demolition Man's another one. I don't want to stare up at those goofs. I would like, you get a cute broad, get some kind of action sequence or a space scene, something. I don't want to look up and see Billy Baldwin or one of these goofs up there looking back at me. No good.
So, I think, it's funny. This is something that we're in total agreement on. My all-time favorite, well, I don't know, we're in total agreement, but I agree with what you said. My all-time favorite pinball machine is Taxi. It is. It's number one with a bullet.
It's got the art style,
It's the perfect marriage of what makes a good pinball machine with great art style, great music. It's a challenging table, but it doesn't have a tremendously deep rule set that you can never figure out in a million years. Right. I tend to go more for the alphanumeric machines over the DMD machines, because to me that's sort of like the perfect balance of modern technology with still keeping the action on the table. With the DMDs, you got the video modes. A lot of that stuff just is it's overkill. You don't need it. It's pinball. It's not a video game. So I'd go with Taxi. I'm also a big fan of Space Shuttle. The old Space Shuttle table.
I mentioned that one last night. It's great. And Space Station, like it was a prequel to that, was a good one. Another one that I like, and now I will say this one's pretty advanced, but another all-time drop-dead Stone Cold classic, and my brother's probably his favorite machine is the Star Trek Next Generation machine.
Yeah,
it's outstanding.
That one is good.
That's another one that'd be on my short list, just because I'm cool with the theme, but the actual game, it's a lot like Taxi. I mean, I like a machine that spells out what you're supposed to do. It flashes the targets of where you're supposed to go, and then you do that. It's not rocket science, There was I sort of agree. I can understand where you're coming from with the DMD situation, but I like the big DMDs. I'm not so keen on the games that are on them. The video games that pop up. It's okay. It's like, yeah, whatever. But I do like. I don't mind. I can go either way on those.
Now, listen, with any pinball machine, pinball machines are a lot like pizza. Even when they're bad, they're still pretty good.
Yeah.
And I would take almost any pinball machine, if somebody offered it to me. And even the DMD game, even though the alphanumeric games are my favorite, like Haunted House, that's another good example. I really like Haunted House. But like people are mentioning in the chat, Theater of Magic, that's a great game, all-time classic.
Yeah.
But here's the deal, Aaron, and you and Brent talked about this on ARG the other week.
Yeah.
The days of us acquiring more pinball machines are over.
Yes. Yeah.
Unless either of us happens to come upon a very large lottery payoff, the good times are gone.
Well, the only time I can see a future where I get a new machine, not a brand new one, and that would involve swapping out something I own.
Sure.
There's always that angle.
Yeah, that's true.
But to be honest with you, it's the price, of course. It's also they're such a pain to move.
Mm-hmm.
They're so hard to move, Bode. And I've moved so many arcade games and pinball machines over the years that I just think I don't want to move them anymore. So I would probably get a couple hired goons to move the tables for me.
Yeah. If you might recall when we bought my pinball machine, we basically just took the legs off, we put it in the back of your car, we threw a tarp over it that didn't cover it. We drove home in the rain, and then we basically just pushed it down the wooden steps in my basement.
Yeah.
Miraculously, that machine continues to play 100%. Triple action, still the ultimate lucky pickup. I mean, talking about $150 find in Huntington for a fully working pinball machine is a 1 in a million, and I still play it all the time. It's a great table.
It's one of the few good things that come out of Huntington. And also, I will say, we've had a lot of good high score challenges on your machine. Mm-hmm. It just goes to show you that you don't need the biggest, the best, and newest to have a good time with these things. And I will say, Bo, one last item. We're very lucky that we own pinball machines. We got in right before it blew up, and so I feel very fortunate to even have any machines back there, especially for someone like myself who for the many, many years teetered on the brink of destruction. How we amassed these, I mean, it could never have happened now. It had to happen in the day where you could get one for a couple $100, because those days are over, long over.
Yeah. So, with all that said, Aaron, before we get into this week's Amiga news, we do have a brand new story over on our website, everythingamiga.com.
We did.
Guys, if you haven't been over there lately, you should definitely check this out. Basically, the one and only Rob Flack O'Hara has kind of been keeping the site alive on his own the past couple months, writing some of the best long-form content you can imagine, all about the Amiga. And this week's article is all about Super Hang-On. Now, if you know anything about Flack, he is a bike guy. He likes motorcycles. He's been riding motorcycles since he was a kid, since he was in third grade, Aaron, third grade.
Amazing.
And he talks about the sport bike that he bought that he almost died on multiple times. And of course, that's the natural lead-in to Super Hang-On. And he talks about all about the wonderful, fantastic Amiga port Super Hang-On. Did you give this one a read, Aaron?
I looked over it. It popped up. I didn't see it. It didn't come up until I was getting ready for the show here. Super Hang-On, the arcade machine. It's a game I've almost bought about 20 times, by the way. The sit-down one. Because those things go for cheap. And even cheaper, you can get the one that just stands up, that has the handlebars,
Stand-up unit, yeah.
And there's one thing that's kept me from ever getting it. It's like I don't like it that much, to be honest with you. I mean, it's cheap. I don't know. It's got a certain appeal, and I think the Amiga version is pretty good.
Would you rather play pole position than Super Hang-On?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you?
No, I'm the other way. I would rather play a motorcycle behind the back game than a car behind the back game, unless we're talking about Outrun. There's just something about, especially if we're talking about the one where you're riding, because you're physically moving the bike when you're playing the sit-down version. You're leaning to the right and to the left. That's super cool. And when it comes to Amiga ports, the simulating the movement of the bike with the mouse is super cool. I always found it to be super responsive, and this is it's a great game. Now, is this better than Lotus? Heck no. But It does have music and sound effects while you're racing, so it's got that on its corner.
You know, looking at this end screen here, the guys posing. You get the bikini girls up front, and of course, the bikini girls are flanked with their children. If you look at that, on either side of the bikini girl are these two small children, and it looks like they're one of them. She's holding their hand or something. So it's good to see.
Are you saying that moms can't wear bikinis?
I'm not saying it. Just what kind of rally is this? Mom comes gussing out in their skimpiest bikini to hang out with her two children.
Listen, I'm not judging.
Well, there you go. Hey, I'm not either. If you go to a bike rally to celebrate at the end with your two small children in a bikini, that's your business, not mine.
That's right.
And
that's
also,
right.
I like the pose of the biker. He's like, yeah, he's cool guy in it. That's a great
cool
picture.
Guy.
I love it.
All right. So thank you to Rob for writing that up for us.
Rob.
And again, everythingamiga.com. Check it out.
Can you believe that Rob's been riding motorcycles since he was in 3rd grade? There's a 0% chance I would stick my kid. My kid's now 11. He can barely stagger through the house without falling over. I'm not gonna put him on a freaking motorbike. He'd kill himself.
I was, I grew up in not quite such a protective environment as Luke has, but definitely, my mom was definitely not eager to put me on when I told her I was out riding around 4-wheelers, she was not pleased when I was about his age.
Now wait a minute. I've got Luke entered. He's learning to master the deadly arts. How much more non-invasive do I have to be? Deadly arts.
That's true. So we leave everythingamiga.com and we travel to the world of Amiga news. Hit the robot, Aaron.
Holy smoke. We already hit the robot, Boat. He's already
hit the robot already?
Yeah, he hit him
hit the
already.
robot before the news?
Well, it sort of came up automatically, Boat. There was like the robot, as far as I'm concerned, when you talk about stuff on everythingamiga.com, that's news. But just
You're
for
right.
you, Boat.
It is news.
Just for you, buddy. Just for you.
Okay,
He's back.
so we're going to start things out.
Don't talk now.
Oh, thank you for bringing it back. I appreciate that.
You're killing me. You wanted the robot. I put him back up for you.
I appreciate that. Well, the problem is, I can't hear the cues. So when you started it up, I didn't know.
Yeah,
so here we go, Aaron. We're talking about now this is not a new news story. The Amiga 2000 replacement boards have been around for a while, but this is a new write-up that somebody has just put up about their journey populating this board with components. If you are sort of wondering if this type of project might be for you, this would be a fun thing to read through, because this guy basically, he lists all of the different problems that he's had, all the successes, all the failures, all the different steps. This is not a small project.
No.
Repopulating a circuit board, PCB, an Amiga motherboard is not for the faint of heart.
Gotta have one of those.
I enjoyed looking at these pictures in the same way that I enjoy, watching ice road truckers.
What?
It's like,
what?
You're cuddled up, you're nestled in your couch under the comforter, and you're watching this guy, brave the wilds of Alaska. That's the way I felt when I was watching this guy reconstruct an Amiga 2000 board. It's not something I want to do.
He's got a picture of all the leads for a bunch of resistors sticking up. He's got the board flipped over. That looks like some sort of like an ancient torture device.
Yeah, it does. It's absolutely. It's the rack and the Iron Maiden all in one.
That.
So.
Yeah, man, I'm having IBM flashbacks, and they're not good ones. It's just too close to home, man. That's too much.
So again, this is a very in-depth article, and I highly recommend it to anybody that's thinking about doing this, or maybe you have done it and you want to bring back the memories through somebody else. Check this out. It's over on the old retrohacks.net site.
I bet no one wants to bring back the memories, Boat. I'll be honest with you.
Once it's done, you want to be out of here.
There's a certain type of person, like your boy Neil is a good example.
Yeah.
He revels in this. Him and his little dude that does this stuff. Good on him. But there's people like me. I've been there, done that, and I'm done. I don't want to go back. No way.
Yeah. So now we move on, Aaron, to the Amiga Show, episode 6. Now I've got to make a confession. I have not yet watched this episode. This is the first episode of the Amiga Show that I've not watched immediately. So Aaron, you're gonna have to fill us in on what happened this episode.
I'll watch it. I will. I've got to give him credit this time around, Boat. Anthony went and made coloring with a program interesting and entertaining to me. He cranked up this old Aegis, I think it was, paint program, and did some logo work and some pictures. it was cool. I got to give him credit. And that's him. That's if you're watching this at home, it's stuff that he animated. He even ended up animating his logo. And if you watch the very end of the show, you can actually see his logo, like his thing comes out and he shows it. Here it comes. See, he did that. That's him doing it right there. So pretty cool.
That's awesome.
He also covered some magazine stuff, of course, and some art. The gallery was interesting this time. A lot of women that are like sucking on lollipops and pencils, whatever. He also, Bo, this is funny because we just talked about this. He covers the first Psygnosis game. Remember a couple weeks ago you were like, yeah, this game looks like it's gonna be crap. We were talking about how cool it looked. He covers it. It's basically it was Bandersnatch. The game was called. They changed the name, and they released it on the Amiga, and it's controlled entirely with the mouse. And so it's hilarious to try to watch him play this uncontrollable game with the mouse because everything on it's mouse driven. So that's good for a laugh. And then he also covers a new game that just came out, which is here. I believe this was one. It was Smarty. I think we've talked about this one. Smarty.
Oh yeah, Smarty and the Nasty Gluttons. We did this for a high score competition.
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago.
And this looks pretty good, Bo. This is the first time I've raced it. I looked at it. And he bought it. So a good show. I gave him the big thumbs up. If anything, the section where he talked about the drawing and art programs that to kept my attention for 10 minutes was amazing. That's what I wrote to him. I'm like, well done. So
well,
stuff.
Anthony, he has an amazing ability to take sort of the humdrum and make it eminently watchable. So hats off for another great episode. I'm definitely going to give this a watch this weekend. I hate that I'm behind, but yeah, definitely subscribe to the Amiga Show on YouTube if you haven't.
Yeah, and I will say, watching him play with the old paint program and then because it's sort of a paint animation combo. I mean, he opens this sucker up, so it's just brand new. You can see how awesome this was. You can also see how it ultimately got passed by better programs. So that's kind of a neat way he did it. So good stuff.
Yeah. All right, Aaron, we're moving on to one of your personal retro gaming heroes, Shane R. Monroe. He's back with a new video. Why don't you tell us about it?
He's actually got 2 videos out, and there's soon to be a third. Shane is talking about, one of my all-time favorite Amiga games, which is Deluxe Galaga, Edgar Vigdal's classic shooting game on the Amiga, and then ultimately the game me and my son played to the nines, which is Warblade, which we play on the PC, which was the spiritual successor to this. But Shane goes into all the little like how to get it set up, using Amiga Forever, all the different little aspects of how the game works, and that's part 1. And then part 2 of this, which it's linked right off this. He actually goes in and shows you some of the secrets, the different features, different point gathering secrets of the game. And then he's actually got a third one planned where he's going to go into the super duper secrets, all the super secrets and hidden stuff. Shane actually, I asked him if he'd interviewed Edgar, and he told me he never got a chance because Edgar had a real low-end modem and didn't have was not a guy that talked on the phone, so they hardly ever talked. But he actually did do an exchange with him, a conversation with him to get some tidbits because Shane actually ran the Deluxe Galaga fan site. In fact, it's still up. I think it's deluxegalaga.com. If you go there, it's still up, and Shane runs that. He's ran it for a decade or more. And so that's where you get all the good juicy tidbits. So if you're an Amiga fan of Deluxe Galaga, this is a real good series. And like Boat says, I know he always says it tongue-in-cheek, but Shane really was a pioneer in podcasting and certainly was the first guy, I would say by a long shot, that covered the Amiga. I mean, way before anyone was even doing any podcast or shows, Shane was covering it. Shane's interviewed all the great legends in video gaming back. Everybody, all the old Atari guys, all the old Vectrix guys. He's interviewed all of them. So he's definitely somebody you want to check out if you're into the old retro stuff. But this is a good video on Deluxe Galaga.
Okay, now we need to go. This is it's the Game On News section of the Amigos. This is we got 3, 4, 5 games to cover this week, Aaron. The first one is Exhumed and Power Slave.
Okay.
Now, if you know anything about me, you know that I hate first-person shooters and I despise anything with an Egyptian theme. This
Really?
game is not. No. Well, I mean, yeah,
Because
kind
you
of.
like Montezuma's Revenge. That's sort of like an Egyptian theme, kinda.
That you're in the wrong continent,
Well, I
man.
know, but you know what I mean. You're going down into like a Mexican pyramid, an Aztec pyramid.
Oh boy. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just leave that there. We're going to talk about
Oh,
this game, which is called Exhumed and Power Slave. So, if you want to see the Amiga try and do a first-person shooter,
wow.
this I guess was ported from the original, I'm sure, DOS version, and it runs super, super smooth. Now, it does require a monster machine, an 060 with
Oh.
an FPU. You need, of
Oh.
course, have the RTG card, but if you've got the jack, then you can do it, man. You can do it.
That
So
looks pretty good though, doesn't it? A boat.
yeah. Sorry, when I heard you going, I thought that my internet had gone out.
No,
That's
no,
why I
it
stopped
wasn't you.
talking. I
I was in
apologize.
awe. I was sad that I had to have huge stats to run this because it looks pretty good. I was thinking to myself, man, what do they got this running on? Well, an 060 with an RTS, that'll that'll do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. But check it out. I believe that it is a free download. Of course, this is not the completed game yet, but you can check it out. BS Zilly is the person that's behind it. And so, of course, this and a bunch of other stories this week come to us from our buddy Neil over at Indie Retro News.
Man, did you look through all this stuff that's under here? My God, there's a lot of. This is not something you're just gonna pop in and start playing. There's gonna be some.
There's a lot of settings. You gotta.
No
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple dip switches you gotta hit
no kidding, I'm just saying,
somewhere on the Amiga to get these things.
I just look at that list of stuff. It's like, holy crap, that's a lot of hard work right there.
Yeah.
You said this was ported over from something?
I want to say that it says, this was originally, it's the MS-DOS, Sega Saturn, and PlayStation. They all got a version of this, and this I'm sure that this was ported.
I'd probably play this on MS-DOS, the Sega Saturn. It'd probably be a lot easier.
Or the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Well, some people just want to do everything on the Amiga,
Well, I
and that's
understand.
more power
You're
to
right.
them.
Good for them.
Okay, next up. Now, Aaron, this is not directly Amiga related, but most Amiga fans will be interested in this news. Microids has just announced a new sequel to Flashback.
Yeah.
Flashback never got a sequel. I can't believe that. A game as popular as Flashback. I guess it did. What wasn't Another World, was that? No, Flashback was the sequel to Another World.
Well, actually, they're unrelated. They're
unrelated, but it's the same studio, the same sort of crap. Well, so this is
he said that.
This is Flashback 2. Not much has been announced so far. In fact, I don't know that anything has been announced
other than the fact that it's being made.
This is I guess it is only coming to modern systems, but I'm sure that a lot of Amiga fans will want to check this out on Steam or wherever it comes out at. 30 years have passed since the original Flashback, and it's darn time for a sequel. That's what I say.
It says here it's going to be on the PC as well, so
Yeah.
There you go.
So anyway, more news as it comes, but I just wanted to let everybody know that was in the plans. I'll tell you something else, Aaron. Super Delivery Boy.
Oh man, we've been there.
Super Delivery Boy.
That's sort of the way I looked when I was delivering pizza. Very similar.
This is a game. I don't know if we've talked about this one before. This has been updated with a bunch of different graphics changes. I guess that they got some feedback that maybe some of the art wasn't quite there, and so they changed a bunch of things. This is a side-scrolling platformer, very much in the console style, and I'm excited about this because this game is my cup of tea. And it looks pretty darn good. It looks pretty good. So make sure you keep an eye out. Now, Super Delivery Boy, you and the Luke play a game it's sort of like this, right? Don't you play Super Delivery? There's something delivery you guys play all the time.
Totally reliable delivery service.
Yeah. Now that's not connected to this at all, is it?
Well, this thing, it's not exactly busting forward to let me see what it looks like. But
no. Okay.
It's funny you should mention that because we've played that for quite a while. And sometime in the past month, they put out an update for it, and the update changed the game completely, and it made it so much worse that now we don't play it anymore. Luke got so mad, he was like, "I'm done."
What a shame! Yeah. What a shame!
Yeah, I think they loot boxed it up, Bo. To be honest with you, yeah.
My gosh. All right, Aaron. We're moving on to. We don't really talk a whole lot about OS4 on Amigos
because we don't know anything about it, Bo.
Yeah, I'm not exactly still sure what OS4 is, but if you are into OS4 and you're looking for a new game to play, they've ported over one of the best puzzle games that we played last year, and
Oh
they
yeah.
ported over Pushover, and it looks great. It looks great. This comes to us again from Indie Retro News via the Old School Game blog, and I guess a guy named Huno PPC ported this over to OS4. So if you've got an old Mac Mini that's running, or an old Power Mac that's running OS4, and you're looking for a new way to spend an afternoon, give the port a pushover. The resolution is incredible. It looks to be a much higher resolution than the Amiga game. Everything looks really crisp and clear. And definitely check this out, man. Yeah, you were a fan of Pushover too, weren't you?
Man, this game, I think we both voted this game of the year.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
who'd have thunk it? I mean, that's I couldn't believe how much I like this game. You know, we're both suckers for dominoes too, Bo. So there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's great. Hey, good for them.
Now, Aaron, we've got a new issue of Amiga Addict has just dropped. Issue
cool
5. Big issue 5. This one is going to feature on the cover. You've got UFO Enemy Unknown cover story.
Good art.
They're a big feature on the XCOM game series. Also, Aaron, check this out. This is their first Amiga Addict downloadable cover disc. Of course, Amiga Addict doesn't ship with a physical cover disc, but you can download an ADF, and you can I think that you can print out a label, slap that on there, and get your own Amiga Addict cover disc. Pretty cool.
I love it. Very clever.
Yeah.
The boys and girls over there know what they're doing.
Speaking of Smarty and the Nasty Gluttons, they're reviewing that in this issue. So lots of Smarty action.
Also see the story of Octamed. Now that's probably pretty interesting, because what a program that is, eh?
Yeah. So much like all the other issues of Amiga Addict, this is packed to the gills with great content, all for £4.50. So make sure you give this if you haven't subscribed yet, check it out. You'll probably like it. I know that every issue I've seen, I've been very, very impressed with.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, granted, we've seen six issues of the first 6 covers of the first issue, because that's what we've got over here. But yeah, it is top shelf. Very good stuff.
Yeah. Now, going into the games for profit section of the podcast, there is a new purchasable Amiga game that just dropped on itch.
Yeah.
This comes to us from McGeezer, who I believe also did the Bomb Jack Beer Edition,
I think
as well as some other things. And he has ported over Turbo Sprint to the Amiga. Now, Aaron, were you a big Turbo Sprint fan back in the arcade?
I mean, this is a pretty fun. I don't think I played this that much in the arcade, but I did play it a little bit. These are those, hey, listen, it's that classic kind of gimmick, right? The old top down, deal where you drive around. But yeah, I've played this a bunch of times. This looks really good. I think we had a little small look at this a while back. I didn't realize it was. I mean, so it's shipping right now, eh? It's ready to go.
Yeah.
What do you think
it's
about
shipping
that?
and ready to go.
That looks real good.
They are. There's a lot of people wanted a big box edition of this, so you can get the big box edition, 42 Great British pounds, or if you want to just download the ADF or the downloadable version of the game, you can get that for 11 pounds.
Did you see this has 4-player support mode?
Cool.
Now listen, that is looking sure. We have to give that one a whirl, Boatster.
Now this will run. It's AGA only. Which, looking at the colors, I mean, it does look good.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, you can see that this is an advanced game. I don't know if it actually requires all those gradients, but it definitely requires the faster processor.
Boat.
You need the A1200, the 4000, or the CD32 to run this bad boy.
I got one of those.
Yeah. So anyway, a big props to Turbo Sprint, McGeezer, getting it done.
So you can download this bad boy for basically 11 British pounds.
That's right.
And in the box version was. What do you think about
42.
that price? How do you feel about that? That seems.
I gotta be honest with you.
The exchange rate is right now, so I don't know how
that's about $15. And I mean, listen, we talk about this anytime we talk about games that are for sale. People that make these things, they spend a lot of work. They charge what they think they should cost.
Yeah.
But as a consumer, when we're talking about an arcade port, that seems a little bit high for me. $42 for the box, the manual, and the game. 42 pounds, which is close to $50, seems a little high. But We don't know what the production costs are for the box, all that stuff, and maybe these are the best boxes ever known to man. It's hard to say. So
Now,
I'm not going to bury the guy for charging what he thinks is fair, but I probably won't be shelling out the bucks for this particular title.
I'm looking down here. It says here, it says, take the opportunity to test the game using the 5-minute time-limited ADF before committing to purchase.
Yeah,
So it's
I like
got a
that
demo.
a lot.
Listen,
I
I
like
don't
that
think
a lot.
$15. I mean, you get a lot of tracks plus the 4-player. I mean, if you take this home, you play it, and you like it, drop the 15. I think that's not too bad. Now, like I said, he went the extra mile with the 4 players, but you got to have 4 players.
All right, Aaron, we're moving on down the line. Check this out. This is wacky. More LCD conversions of Game & Watch games for Amiga OS 4. It's Amiga OS 4 news off the charts today,
No
Aaron.
kidding, eh?
These are, of course, the classic Nintendo Game & Watch games that have been updated. Now, it's funny because on the CoinOps build that you provided me with, there are some Game & Watch games that have a very similar display.
Yeah.
Where when you push a direction on your joypad, you actually see the direction being pushed on the screen on the controller. The same thing with the button. I wonder if this is connected to that project at all, or if this is developed sort of individually.
Who knows? I will say these are actually, of course, I think you've played these back in the day a little bit, right? I mean, you've had a cup of coffee with some of these these games.
Yeah, I played a couple of them.
Do you have any of these, by the way?
Oh, if I did, I'd sell them and retire.
Oh man, I think they're neat, and I did play these. I didn't have any of these, but my buddies had them.
Yeah, I was in the same boat.
Mario and the Cement Factory was one that I played a lot, but I did play this one in Donkey Kong Jr. As well, and they're actually pretty fun. I've played the emulation version. They hold up. I mean, they're about the same. You go into these with the right mindset to play it, but I will say, I think Mario and the Cement Factory is one of the best ones of these. It may be the best, and it's a legitimate game, And some of these are pretty good, but it's definitely a curiosity. There's no doubt about that.
So we appreciate Ann Bjorn Myron for this is the person that is developing these, and I know that these aren't the first. There have been some other ones that have come out, so I'm sure that I hesitate to wonder if Ann Bjorn is a man or a woman, so I'll continue to just refer to them as they. I hope that they continue this project and put out the whole series eventually.
Cool name. I like that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It works either way. Good stuff though. Yeah.
All right, Aaron.
Outstanding.
Next up, what you've been waiting for. Finally, people recognize the name of Amigo Aaron on YouTube. You've been anonymous on YouTube for far too long, Aaron. Tell us about it.
You're right. So, our buddy Chris Edwards, if you happen to catch ICC last time out, Chris rolled in like a tidal wave of hilarity when he was there, and he knows what he's doing. I watch a lot of his stuff. He does a lot of he's the sort of laid back, sketchy type of tech that I like to be. And he sort of operates the same way I do. Anyway, a couple weeks ago, he got his hands on one of the Pi Storm cards and stuck it in a 500 and did some tests. And really, for the longest time, he was the only guy that had a video on the subject. And so I'd mentioned on his comment section, I was like, "That's awesome." I was like, "I wonder what would be awesome is if you could get that in the 1000." Well, he took me to task basically. He took up the challenge, and he took his 1000 and stuck one of these suckers in here. Now, there are certain challenges to get a Pi Storm, and I'll get to the Pi Storm here in a minute anyway, because it's not 100% ready for prime time here for a bunch of reasons, but we'll get into that. But to get this to work in the 1000, you have to cut a little notch out of the corner of your Raspberry Pi. Well,
alert the hate machine.
Well, here's the thing. He used a Dremel. I just would have taken a pair of snips, because the way you're cutting is just a little screw hole boat. It's not that big a deal. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and no, this is into the Pi, not the Amiga. Nothing
not the Amiga.
Yeah,
okay.
Are you kidding me?
Okay.
You have to be some kind of jackass to go in there and cut your Amiga. Anyway, So he sticks a sucker in, and wham, bam, Bob's your uncle. It worked. It worked like a charm. And he even did some advanced stuff on it that was interesting, and it looks good. Now, this does not increase the amount of chip RAM your 1000 has, and so there you go with that. But it does allow you to not have to have a Kickstart ROM or disk, which is great. And plus, it gives you all the extra memory and whatnot So here's the thing. I've looked into the Pi a little bit this week. Another video that I put up, that I didn't put it up, but I watched this week, was Dan from the Retro Hour did a video on the Pi Storm as well this week, both.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan did some testing, and Dan had similar results to Chris. Everything went pretty well, but he did have some trouble loading up some discs.
Yeah, I know he has some ADF issues, right?
Now, I don't know, and I'm sure this is stuff that'll get ironed out ultimately. But I mean, effectively, especially in the 1000, the way Chris did, I mean, you've got a hard drive in this thing now. The SD card worked. Everything worked like you would expect it to work. All right, so that's nice. So I think you've got something here that's going to be a powerhouse in the future. But here's the flip side of this. I've been talking to a lot of people this week, and it turns out that these Pis are going to be double tough to get, and it may be hard to get them for a while because one of the chips on these things is effectively gone. Like, you can't hardly get them anymore. And so I actually rolled over to the Pi Storm Discord to check out the line to get these things. And I mean, it goes deep, like years deep probably. So,
oh my gosh.
Unless something changes, the amount of these Pi Storm cards are going to be around is going to be pretty low. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. But hey, it's an awesome angle. I will say I'm intrigued at the concept of having a Raspberry Pi like grafted to the top of one of your Amigas. I mean, watching him do this stuff, you really are, especially in an Amiga like the 1000 or 500s, you're really breathing life into these machines that would have cost you quite a bundle on the flip side. Now, we talked about this between the two of us off air and a little bit on air, but there's a cornucopia of good goodies coming out. I know I've talked to a couple of our Discord buddies who have already purchased the Buffy. They've got one of those coming. I believe those things are available. You can purchase your way basically into the beta. I think is the way they're doing it.
Okay.
And so you can pick those up, and you're gonna help them work out the kinks. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because I've not got to see that thing get the tires kicked on it. Plus whatever the Vampire team's kicking. So it'll be interesting to see how these things stack up against one another. But this was great stuff, and I appreciate Chris for actually giving this a whirl. He didn't have to do it, and I really enjoyed it. I also appreciate Dan for doing it too. Check out Dan's video as well on this. So it's good to see the Pi Storm is finally getting some coverage here, Boat, and we will see what the future holds if the chips are available and if they get all the kinks worked out.
Yeah. All right, Aaron, before we wrap up our news section, let's saunter on over to RetroRewind.ca to see what they've got cooking over there in Canada. Today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about the Open 16 cart.
All right.
Now, we don't really give the Commodore 16 a whole lot of love. Aaron, have you ever actually used a Commodore 16?
No, I've never even seen one, I don't think. I mean, I've seen pictures. I've never seen one in person, Boat.
I haven't either. It's one of those systems that I'm sure one of these days I'm going to fall into. I'm going to see one for sale somewhere, and I won't be able to help myself and snap it up. And one of the great things about all these old systems is that they've made ways to burn EPROMs onto cartridges easier than ever before. So you can actually create your own custom cartridges. We see this with all kinds of different systems, for good and for ill. Some people, making cartridges and trying to pass them off as originals or whatever. But for a lot of hobbyists, part of the hobby is actually, making the cartridge yourself and then playing the cartridge that you made in your system. Yeah. And that's what this thing does. The Open 16-bit cart allows you to make your own cartridge. It's an open hardware cartridge design. It's designed to accept EPROMs with both 16 and 32 kilobytes of ROM image support. And you can get all the documentation on the support wiki over on Retro Rewind. So it's sort of a one-stop shop for everything you want, except for the EPROM. Because guess what? You can get the EPROM right on the same page. Now, check this out, Aaron.
There it is.
The Open 16 cart, guess how much it costs? $6 bills, yo. Guess how much an EPROM costs? $5.50. So for $11, for under $12, Aaron, you can burn your own Commodore 16 cart, stick it in your machine, and go to town. What a world we live in.
I think that's awesome. And here's the sad thing, Boat. You've got, I mean, that's dirt cheap. All right.
Yeah.
You've got that, and then you could probably 3D. I don't know if they sell cases, or you could 3D print one, or you could just gut another cartridge, whatever you do. But I mean, you could never get into the cartridge game cheaper than now. I wish that me and you had any sensibilities when it came to programming, that we could use this incredibly cheap technology to do something. I don't know what we'd make, but it would
be
still
cool,
be fun
whatever
to
it
have
would
your own
be.
cartridge. Yeah, that'd be kind of neat, man.
Yeah,
Call up
maybe
our friend Gary.
Maybe what I'll do is I'll just print out a label with our picture on it, and I'll just glue it onto a cartridge, and I'll tell people.
If we could figure out how to just display a picture, and what would be great is we put our picture on the front of the cartridge, and then all it does is when you put it in, it's our picture pointing and laughing. It just says, "You got screwed." That's the game.
That's also kind of the podcast too. So.
And we'll sell a boxed version too. Oh yeah, that's great. Good boat.
So now that's not all. So $12, okay, it's not a whole lot of money, but guess what? You can save 10% off this or any order with promo code Amigos Spring Fun. Just use that at checkout. All one word, all caps. 10% off any order at RetroRewind.ca.
When you think
we
spring
thank
fun,
we thank them
think
a lot.
of us. Yeah, we do.
That's right. We're the kings of spring fun.
You got that right, bud. Good stuff.
All right, Aaron. It's time to dive into this week's Amigos Game of the Week, Pinball Dreams.
Oh, man, here we go, Bo. Now, this, of course, is a game we covered, gosh, way back. Did you get the episode this was on? It's funny, I listened to it this week, but I can't remember the actual number.
It's early, maybe episode 3. Pick cinema. I'll look that up while you introduce the game.
Oh, very good. So, this is in our series of where we go back and take a look at some of our super, super early efforts. So Pinball Dreams, gosh, if you haven't heard of this one, I don't know what you're doing here. Came out in 1992 and was published by 21st Century, developed by the fellows over at Digital Illusions. And these guys know their craft. They really ushered in, I mean, I guess I could say this, Boat. They sort of, with this product, they ushered in the new era of computer and console pinball. Could we agree with that?
Well, I wouldn't say they ushered it in, because lots of people kept making crap pinball games after this game came out.
You can open the door. You can't force them in.
They definitely set a new standard.
Let's
just say that.
Absolutely. I will say that. So, what you got for your money here, this was a package that came with 4 tables. This came on 2 discs. And this actually allows you to have 8 simultaneous players, but that's kind of cool. I like the idea that you can have a bunch of different players on these. This was really done by some fellas. I believe these guys were Swedish, Bo, if I'm not mistaken. And you've got, and I'm going to try not to butcher these names. I butchered them last time, so I'm going to try again. You got Marcus Nystrom. That's a great name. Ulf Mandorf. Olaf Gustafsson. In there as well, and Alexis Axelson. Pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad. You did pretty well with that.
Thank you, man. These guys didn't work on a ton of Amiga stuff aside from the pinball games. They all worked on Pinball Fantasies. All but Ulf worked on Illusions, and 3 of these guys of the 4 worked on a game we covered, Benefactor. Do you remember Benefactor from a while back?
This is the game where you control the fleet of Oompa Loompas.
Well, I don't remember thinking of it that way, but yeah. But I remember we both sort of dug it. I do remember that.
Yeah, it was a good game.
I looked, I did not realize how many places this game had traveled. In fact, I've got to see some of these versions. I'm going to read some of these off, and you tell me if you believe me or not, all right? These are all real, okay? So, of course, you've got the DOS version, and we'll get into the DOS version later. You've got this got re-released on a bunch of the modern consoles, the Vita, the PSP Network, all that crap. There was a Game Gear version of this. Who knew, right? Of course, the Super Nintendo, the GBA had a version. The original Game Boy, the Mac had a version. Of course, Apple. But here are the 3 that really blew my mind. Okay, with the 2 here. The Atari Falcon apparently had a version of this. This is going to be one of the few commercial games released with the Falcon. And this is the one that really threw me off. According to Wiki, the Game Park GP32 got a port of this.
I saw that on the Wikipedia page, and I thought, surely not. Now, I didn't realize any games actually came out for that thing outside of Asia.
I have a GP2X over here. and it got a couple releases. All right, but I never saw this. So and I never saw the Falcon version. So those are two I'm definitely gonna look into. I got to see those. So this game, it did get spread around a little bit. I'd say the most prominent version of that would probably be the Super Nintendo version or the DOS version. And we'll get into that in a little while. So what do you get when you buy this game? You get 4 pinball machines, 4 big machines, Boat. When you boot this thing up, it starts off, and you know you're in for something, don't you, Boat? Because you get that awesome opening tune.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? I mean, what did you think about before you even played the game? What did you think about the opening part of this game?
Well, I tried to get through it as soon as I could. It's one of these things you see. I mean, it's cool to see one time. I mean, it's not beat it. I mean, it's not freaking game changing. It's a freaking eagle.
It's cool looking, and the sound is cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like an Amiga game starting up.
No, listen, you're killing me here. So I read an interview with Andreas Axelson. Of course, it had to be the guy who's the hardest name. Anyway, he was talking about some of the music in this, and he said when they said that intro song was written in about an hour, which I thought was cool. He said it was Olaf did the music on this, and so Olaf went to work, and he says he actually wrote all the music specifically for this game. Which as they get into some later details, he actually did work on one of the ports of the game where he didn't even see the tables they were putting in and had to make music without seeing them, and he hated it. So that's a whole other story. We'll get into that a little bit later. So you've got 4 tables here, Boat. You've got Ignition, Steel Wheel, Beatbox, and Nightmare. We're gonna look at them in that order, I guess. So let's start with Ignition, Bo. What was your thoughts on that particular table?
I prefer the remix to Ignition, hot and fresh out the kitchen.
Would you just get on with it, you dipstick?
So this is a space-themed game. Space lends itself to pinball very well because you're launching a ball into the orbit. You even call the things the orbits that you launch them into.
Yeah.
This is a pretty open table. I think it's the most open table there is in terms of there's just not a lot of stuff to stop your ball from going up to the top of the playfield.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I hate tables that are too crowded. There are, a lot of these games have similar mechanics where you're either shooting a series of ramps for a certain, for certain multipliers, or you're hitting drop targets to spell words and things like that. I'd say that this is probably my second favorite table.
Really?
I think the theme is good. I mean, but you can't really go wrong with the space theme with pinball. I think that the table is designed well. It didn't anger me when I played it.
That's always good.
I wasn't a fan of the music in this particular. I feel like they should have gone for something a little bit more like the title track.
More epic.
In fact, the music on a lot of these tables, I know you're getting ready to tell me a big story about the music, and I've not read that, so I don't know what it is, but I really feel like the music was sort of a missed opportunity on almost all these tables. I don't think it's particularly good, especially when you compare it to the best music on real pinball tables. It just sort of sounds like somebody meandering around, not really knowing what they're doing.
Man. Are you yanking my chain here, Boat, or are you serious?
No, I'm being completely serious.
Holy
I was not
smokes.
a fan of the music.
The music in this is widely regarded as some of the best. It's awesome.
Listen,
music.
I can't tell you that I like something that I don't like.
Holy
Maybe
smokes.
It is.
I didn't expect that. I have to tell you, I was stunned to hear that. So let me. I don't agree with the music, but we'll get to that. I will say, according to the interview I read, this was the first table they did. Okay. And you can tell it.
I can see that.
Because it's a very basic table.
It is. It's very basic. This is very similar to a table that you might see, like the layout in like Dave's Midnight Magic or something like that. You've got your 3 bumpers up top. You've got a shooting lane. You got some drop targets on the side. It's very basic.
Actually, Dave's Midnight Magic was even more advanced than this one. At least he ripped off the best. This one was just real generic. Like in the first table, but they were making sure that they had their, the ball physics and whatnot down, and once they got this one, then they could open their wings. This is far and away my least favorite of the 4 tables.
Really?
It's just
Interesting.
there's just nothing going on. It's a nothing happening table. This reminds me of playing one of the old EM pinball machines from like the 60s. It's just like the novelty of just look, you can move the ball.
First of all, that's stupid because this is way more advanced than an EM table.
I'm talking about the action.
There's progressive
I'm not talking
scoring in this. There's drop targets that I mean. That's
I'm talking about the actual ball action, not the actual rules. I'm just talking about the ball action. There's not much going on that table for me. I thought the music was fine. I really am surprised that you don't like the music. I thought it was real.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like it was just all a bunch of like, it was very moody.
Well, it has
and it
to
was
be.
very atmospheric. But I don't know. I wanted something with a little bit more direction.
To me, pinball music has to flow in the background, and you can't have anything too flashy because it would distract you from the actual gameplay. All the calls and stuff that are happening when you hit the ball into certain stuff. And I think,
calls? What are you expecting? Voice samples to come on?
Yeah, there's voice samples in this, but I mean not in this. I mean, but when I say calls, I mean just like when you do something that requires a sound to be made, you want that to stand out over the kind of background
that's well
music.
done. Any machine that's well done mixes down the music when that happens.
Well,
that doesn't mean you have to have crap music in a pinball machine.
I don't think it's crap. I can tell you that right now. I think that is. I don't agree. I mean, it's style of the beholder, but no, I don't think it's crap. I need to stretch the imagination. So this one's pretty simple. I didn't play this one a ton this week because I've played all these before. By the way, we should mention before we move on, if you want to play these and you don't feel like firing up your Amiga, you can. The company has a great pinball file. If you go to the company's website, it's got all the pinball games for the Amiga in one big file, and it's great. You just double click on it and go. So that's a great way to play these if you feel like playing them that way. But this one, like I said, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's not like they didn't do their homework with the rules set and stuff, and getting the scores up and lighting up the arrows and lighting up the loops and stuff. But I mean, I'm just, for me, I like having fun with shots, and there just weren't any shots in this that I thought were that entertaining. There's not really. I like ramps and stuff like that. I guess I'm that guy. And
yeah, I guess if you're again, all the ramps and stuff like that, you're getting into an area with newer pinball that I just don't enjoy as much. Like I said, the sweet spot for me, you can have a couple ramps, but like when we get to some of the other tables, I'll talk about that more in detail.
Fair enough. But like I said, so you think it's your second favorite? I would say this is probably. I think this is the weakest of the tables. So we're gonna move on, Boat, to the next table, which is Steel Wheel. Steel Wheel is Western based. It's got pretty good sound effects that come up when you start. It's got a kind of a tune that is appropriate for the era that they're representing here.
Mm-hmm.
This one has lots of ramps, this is sort of a fan shape. You've got your lots of different little light ups, lots of loops and ramps. What'd you think of Steel Wheel, Boat?
Steel Wheel is my favorite table.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the way that the progressive ticket system works, or it's not really tickets, but like the progressive scoring at the bottom.
Yeah.
I really like that. I like the fact that the bonuses change depending on, like, the bonuses on the right side they don't stack. You can choose the bonuses on the right. I felt like the ramps were wide. They had flared edges, so you don't have to hit the ramp perfectly to get the ball to travel through it.
Yeah.
It was very forgiving. I like the way that the skill shot works, and the way that instead of spelling the numbers, you're actually lighting up arrows. It's just different. It's different. I'm not a big fan of the Wild West theme in general in games, but I thought that, again, for pinball, you're talking about moving a ball down a track in much the same way a train goes down a track. It fits the theme of pinball. I thought the table itself was pretty attractive, I just had a lot of fun with Steel Wheel.
This is the machine that I want to love, but I don't. I don't hate it, but I don't love it, and there's something about the flow of this machine that I just don't like. It's okay. I mean, I like the sound effects. I also like the advancement. It's fun. It looks nice. I think this is probably this is definitely one of the more unique ones, because this is kind of This isn't a theme that you see a lot. Like I can't sit here and think of a ton of pinball machines in real life that have a train theme. Off the
Yeah,
top of my head.
like there's probably like Maverick. It's
And
like a
that one's more
Wild West type
steamboat than
thing.
anything else. That
Yeah,
one.
that's true. You're right. You're
But
right. I see the point.
but this one, I think was a pretty unique one. It's okay. I will say one of the things the guys did right in this, and if you're watching at home, if you've played this, you'll notice how they've got the lighting set up on the screen. When it comes to game machines like this that have the ramps, you can use those as guides for your shots because you can't see the top of the screen, and so you would think to yourself, man, it's difficult. It's gonna be difficult to get the ball up there. You're right, the ramps are pretty wide, but you can also I think they put those there for a purpose, so you can actually aim your shots. Yeah, and that's clever because that's something we've played a lot of these off-brand pinball simulators, and they don't all do that. They don't have that sort of forethought when it comes to putting these things together. I should mention, if you haven't played this before, this has all the standard stuff that you find in pinball now, in terms, shake the table and that sort of thing. And actually, I don't know how often do you tilt a lot on that. I mean, do you use that feature?
Not
that
in
much?
This game. In this game, I never really felt like I wasn't. You don't get a lot of center drains in this game, and you also have the bumper saver. So I didn't find myself nudging too often.
I will say the first ignition has a lot of drains on the sides. It's the worst at that, I think. It was and also actually the graveyard is also bad about that. This one's not so bad. This one's okay. Like I said, I like the theme, I like the songs, and I like the look of it. But for me, it's funny. I'm sitting here kind of ragging up, but I'd probably say this is probably my second favorite, all things considered. But yeah, I think this is a fun one. And like I said, the theme is real good. So we're going to move on now, Boat, to one that's called Beatbox. Now, Beatbox is sort of like, I always picture this as like you're a record producer and you're trying to help a band like hit the charts, go on tour. It's not, I don't think it's actually said anywhere it's said that, but you just sort of assume that's what it is.
Right. That's sort of the way I felt about it.
This one has some great tunes on it. It's got probably, I would say this has got, well, I'm not going to lie, this is by far my favorite machine. I mean, far and away on this collection. This has got the best music. It's got the best sound effects. It's got the shots are very delightful. I'll enjoy them. They're challenging. So you have to actually perfect your shooting. Something else that Steel Wheels had was like a lot of times I felt like I didn't have enough power in the ball, and it used to drive me nuts. This one doesn't do that. I feel like I've got enough power to make the shots.
Yeah, well, you're with a lot of these shots, you're not traveling the full length of the table either. You're kind of coming up halfway.
You're right. You're absolutely. That's exactly correct. Because if you recall where Steel Wheels ramps were, they were a little further up than they are on here. These are just right past where you can't see them. And so there's a lot of interesting shots and little tunnels that you go up through here. But what makes this game real fun is I just like the progression of it. You send your band on tour. You also have their album, their songs going up the charts. I think that's awesome. This game, this one you use the center. The center protection more than any other, but it's also the most effective. The ball, for whatever reason, the ball tends to drain right down the middle on this machine a lot. But with that post there, it'll bounce right back out. I mean, I routinely save my game with that center post on this board more than any of the other ones combined, probably. What did you think of Beatbox?
This is my least favorite table in the game, and I'll tell you why. I did not realize until you said it just a second ago that the lights were set up in the direction so you could aim your shots.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And so I found this table to be very frustrating because I didn't know there was a way for me to aim my shots at the ramp. And this isn't the type of table that you just let your ball go and hope it goes where it needs to go. Very precise aiming is required for you to do well at this table. And so I did not have a lot of fun with that because of that. And the second thing is, I think this is just the most incredible waste of a theme. The rule set is fantastic. Now that I understand how the ramps work, that's great too. But you've got the thing that looks like the alien at the end of The Watchmen in the middle of the table. What is that? Why is that in a table called Beatbox?
It is.
Where's the freaking?
I will
Where's
say
the
the art
freaking thing? Like in listen,
the art
where's the
package on this
thing?
is not is probably the worst of the four. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about
And this,
that.
to me, this would be the game that would be the easiest to theme.
Yeah, I
Where's the
agree.
freaking record? Like, in Taxi, when you shoot the ball and it goes around and around and around, why not have one of those things and make it like a vinyl record that you're going around and around and around? Where is your band? Why don't you have an outline of your band playing? Where are the musical instruments? You know, this is just it's what were they thinking?
Well, listen, I think these guys are. I think it was stylized. All right, let's be. These guys were demo guys. I think this
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
stylized thing. I mean, and listen, it's got splats and stuff around it. There's also perhaps they were working within the limitations of what graphically what they could pull off given what they were doing. We don't know the full scoop. I will say. I mean, listen, you're not wrong. Okay, I'm getting. You're right. This one from the theming is which I like the theme, but the implementation of the theme graphically is bizarre and weird.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. Now it's funny that doesn't bother me in the least when I'm playing it because the music's good, the call outs are good, and the shots are good. I like all that stuff. But you could have kept the beatbox logo and the little cityscape there and that meter,
Mm-hmm.
but
Right.
you could have. I would have almost just rather just got rid of everything else and just or
Yeah,
try anything.
with the amount of lights that you have in the center of the table, having that alien is just complete. It just clutters it up.
Yeah,
So they could have just
I
taken
think
it out.
that's hair, but I don't know. I honestly, I don't.
There is no possible way that's
Yeah,
hair.
I
That
don't.
hair has an eye. It has a red eye.
Listen, I don't know
looking
what
at you.
I don't know what the hell it is. I'm trying to save it. I don't know. It's very strange. But I mean, in terms of playability, I think this one crushes all the other tables. I mean, by a long distance, I might add. I mean, in my opinion, this is your true winner in terms of tables.
Well,
That's just me.
I mean, I see your point. I think in a lot of ways this probably is, objectively the best table in
Yeah.
terms of the rule set, in terms of everything. It's not my favorite because I like to have a combination of, precise ramps, but I also like to just be able to fling it up to the bumpers whenever I want and let them bounce around and do some other things. This is a very, I mean, it's almost completely ramp dependent. So it depends on what kind of game you like.
And really, that that's totally fine because pinball. It's funny how radically different people like their pinball. Some people like that sort of fan stuff. I kind of like this. Reminds me a little bit. The only difference, but this reminds me a little bit of Royal Rumble, except for the fact that it doesn't have that center ramp that Royal Rumble does right near the bottom, which I'll be honest, I'm not real fond of those, so I would kind of like to see that gone. And it is satisfying to get those long shots, but this does have a few long shots, but they're not as visual because they're hidden under other ramps and whatnot. So I can understand that, but I like this one, but the art package that's the one downside of this machine is the art package. Now let's move on. Here's a whack. Speaking of art packages, Boat, let's talk about the last in the collection, which is Nightmare or Graveyard, depending on your perspective. So this one is, when you pick this game from the front menu, it's called Nightmare, but when you actually play the machine, it's called Graveyard. And I was reading that this was changed on a couple versions, where they actually would change the name to Graveyard on the front panel as well. So I don't know why. I don't know what happened there in terms of the naming. But this is one of your classic spooky, like a creepy machine, horror based machine, where you're shooting the ball around a cemetery. This one's got really good effects. I like the art package for the most part. I think the upside down crosses are probably a bit much. Also, I don't see what has to do with the graveyard. I mean, there's unless you're buried in a satanic graveyard. I don't know. We talked about this before, and we both just assumed that they were trying to be edgy, and I'm standing by that because that's what I think they were trying to do too. Just be edgy. And those got yanked out of a couple versions. The upside down crosses. In fact, I know the Super Nintendo didn't have those. This one has, this one has a nice little rule set, but I found this one frustrating from a shot perspective. I just didn't have much luck on this machine. I'll be honest with you, Boat. And I thought what sound effects I heard were okay, but I could never get like mega far in this, and I didn't find the shots that much fun. You've got two long sort of orbital ramps or not ramps, but lanes on the side. And then you've got some stuff way up high, but it's real hard to hit that central stuff that's located towards the top of the table, for me anyway. What did you think of this one, Bode?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this one either. Like I said, Beatbox was my least favorite. This is my third least, or this is my next to last favorite. Um, I had a hard time understanding, like I didn't read the docs, and so I had a hard time understanding the rule set in this one. Like I went back afterwards and read it, and you're trying to get the clock to strike midnight. So you start
Yeah.
out, you go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. First of all, I don't know. I would have had something better than that. I
Well,
would have had like freaking like Dracula rising from the grave or something like that, or like zombies or something. Just getting to midnight, that doesn't scream like edgy horror
well,
graveyard thing to me.
advancing a clock is sort that's been done many times in
Oh
pinball.
yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
normally you're advancing. It's there's more to it. I mean, I will say,
Hmm.
this one it's funny. You've got this graveyard theme, but there's really, I mean, if you look at the overall table, like it's almost like going to a graveyard in real life. You sort of go out there and it's spooky and creepy, and then you stand out there for a while and nothing happens, and you're like, "What the
Hmm.
hell am I doing in this graveyard? Oh, it's midnight, time to go home. There's when the clock strikes. I'm getting the hell out of here. It's cold." This one just left me, no pun intended, cold.
Yeah. I mean, like I could definitely, like you said, like it's definitely the result of them trying to be a little bit edgy, trying to go a little bit dark.
Yeah.
But I think that they should have done more with the actual mechanics to reflect that. The rule set should have reflected it more than just the art on the table.
I will say, I wanted to love this table because I like these kind of themes, and I do like the setup of this table. I think this is one where the scrolling of the actual screen doesn't do any favors, because this one I found the shots a lot harder to hit than the other ones. And this is another one, sort of like Steel Horse, where I didn't have. There's a ramp on the left. It's way, way up at the top of the screen, and it was hard as heck to get the ball to go up there. You
Hmm.
really had to pound the ball on that. It's funny. I was reading that in that interview, they talked about how the ball physics changed slightly with the second one. And they made the ball a little lighter, and they asked him if they did that on purpose, and he couldn't remember why they'd done it or if they'd done it. So
Hmm.
I wonder if they hadn't made that ball a little bit lighter to get more. I noticed in the sequels, the ball seems like it will go further than it does in this game. Like I said, most the other machines doesn't bother me as much. This is the number one offender of that kind of that loafy ball where it's hard to get a good shot on it.
Hmm.
For me.
Well, and again, I felt like the shots that you had to make in this one were just tougher to make. Like it just seemed like in I don't know, like looking at the ramps, like the ramp on the it just seemed like you had less room for error. Maybe that's just all in my mind, but I had a hard time getting anything to happen in this game, and it didn't help the fact that, like it's not immediately apparent what you need to do to progress in this game, and that didn't really set me in the right path either. So.
Yeah, I like the picture of the church in this. It's kind of spooky, but really the art package on this one isn't like what I would call. I mean, that part looks good, but like the skull stuff, like I said, it looks like a teenage boy. This is the kind of thing you'd write on the back of your notebook when you're bored in class.
Hmm.
It's like let's
Right.
put this down. But I wanted to like it, but it is what it is. We should mention that none of these tables have any sort of like multi-ball. There's no crazy toys or anything, because this stuff was, and they would kind of, as they moved forward, they would add more and more of this more conventional stuff in pinball.
For better or worse, they'd add more
But
stuff.
I will
Yeah.
say this, and this one also has the new alphanumeric readout, right? Which we talked about the DMD earlier, which has the picture stuff. This one doesn't have that.
Mhm.
It just has, but there's something to be said about that. And we talked about this boat long ago when we covered some of the other machines. This one actually, the fact that they don't have that DMD, you get actually more playfield to look at,
Mhm.
and it
Mhm.
actually it's funny that little extra space makes a huge difference in your ability to play the game, and so that makes this package probably my favorite in terms of playability, because you can see more of the screen. Does that make any sense to you, Boat?
Well, I mean, I don't want to give anything away from the machines that are to come, but I did play a little bit of Pinball Fantasies
Yeah.
after this, and I had a lot more fun with Pinball Dreams than I did Fantasies, and I think part of it is the fact that I'm just more partial to the alphanumeric display. But like you
Yeah.
said, part of it is that you can see more of the table on the screen. And what are we doing here? We're playing pinball. We want to see as much of the table on the screen as possible.
I will say, Pinball Fancies has a couple machines I like. Particularly, I like that's the one that has $1 Billion Game Show, which I think that's another one. It's a great theme. But yeah, that's a fundamental issue with them. It's just that the fact that you can't see all the screen. This game did remarkably well. Boat. Obviously, that's why it got ported so much. It sold a ton of copies, and as such, as we mentioned, this got ported to multiple systems. We took a look at one here, and we picked this one because it was sort of a standout. And I don't mean standout in its greatness, but it's so radically different. We looked at the Super Nintendo version of this boat. Now you've played this on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
So I think I actually played this. I think I rented this or something at some point in the past. I remember playing this on the actual Super Nintendo. And what you have to know if you're listening to this at home is that the Super Nintendo version scrolls vertically and horizontally.
Yeah.
It is a very disorienting effect when the ball is zipping around the screen and and the screen is shifting rapidly back and forth, not only vertically but horizontally. It makes the game a whole lot of not fun. I am not a fan of the Super Nintendo game, and Aaron, did you say that you figured out why they had to do it this way?
I don't think they had to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think they did it because they could.
Well, I mean, but why would you do that though?
Well, because you can. Because they can. If you look if you're watching at home, if you look at the comparison here, it's a more zoomed in picture. Okay, so everything is bigger, but they failed to think about a couple things. One, bigger is not better in this case because it makes the shots far more difficult. A lot of the stuff you would line your shots up with, you can't see.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Secondly, it's not necessarily good for one's eyes and brain to have the board shifting so totally all the time. I mean, if you play Pinball Dreams on the Amiga, you sort of get used to that gentle scroll. It's much more herky-jerky on the SNES. Also, the SNES, for whatever reason, moved the DMD to the bottom of the screen. Do you prefer it on the bottom or the top there, Boat?
Oh, on the top. That's where it goes, on the top.
Yeah, I agree. And so I would say this version was a big old dud.
Oh yeah,
I remember playing this. I was like, oh boy, this will be fun to play. It was not fun to play. This got like I said, this got lots of ports. I know the guys weren't real happy with the DOS port. It's funny. We play a lot of pinball, Boat, and the DOS port was done by this outfit. It was called, like, their name was like Spider Soft. And those guys have they every time they do a pinball game, it stinks. So I've hated everything they've ever done, and so but they've done a bunch of pinball games. It just goes to show you that you've got to know what you're doing. It doesn't take much to screw a game like this up. If you botch up the physics, or the way the ball bounces, for example, you've really ruined the game in a lot of ways. But it's not just a pretty picture on. You just got to have other stuff going on.
As we come to the end of this review,
yeah,
we need to call upon the important fact that this series of games, Fantasies, Dreams, Illusions, Slam Tilt, represent the only good pure pinball games available on 8 or 16-bit computers. Now, I know that people like the Devil's Crush and the Alien Crush on the TurboGrafx 16. There are some other games, Sonic Spinball and stuff.
Epic.
Those are not pinball simulations. Those are video games that have pinball qualities, or pinball machines that have video game qualities.
Yeah.
You got crap crawling around the table. You've got laser guns. You're doing weird stuff. If you want to play pinball like you play in real life, it's this series or nothing on the 16. But there is nothing else that even comes close to the quality of this series. Because trust me, I went through a bunch of different games. I was like, surely there's got to be something else that approaches this. And there's nothing that approaches the graphical fidelity, the physics, the feel of the bumpers, or the table layout. I mean, people forget that laying out a pinball machine isn't easy.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of ways to do it wrong, and these guys did it right.
No, it's been a while since I played it. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm not saying you're wrong. Okay, because, and by the way, I meant to say this earlier. We did not like all these tables like a ton, but they are leaps and bounds ahead of all of their predecessors.
Right,
I mean, it's like you can say like it's when I say I don't like it, it's like saying I don't like a real life pinball machine. That doesn't make it any less tangibly awesome because it's still
This is just the fact that we can compare these tables, because when I say I don't like them, I'm comparing them to real pinball machines, that professional people designed that are pinball machine designers. That's high praise. Even the worst table in this game is better than any other standalone pinball simulation on any game. I'm ready for you to tell me what I'm missing.
I remember being very fond of, I believe it was called Epic Pinball on the PC that came out. And of course, this would be way down the line.
So I'm talking, at the time when this was released, in the 16-bit era.
Right. I'm trying to think if it was better or as good, and it's been since I played it. I can't say that, so I'm not gonna say you're wrong. Maybe someone can. I have played. Someone mentioned Psycho Pinball. I didn't like it. I'm sure there's somewhere down the line there's something, but I mean it would be years later. I mean there was nothing close. I'm not gonna lie. And the funny thing is, these guys wrote this over a period of 3 years in their spare time off school and on holidays. So this is your classic story. And they also had to pitch this around before they get somebody to take, before they even got somebody to, publish it. So, which astounds
is insane,
me,
yeah.
But this is another thing where demo guys, they know the hardware, man, and they can go in and make it sing. And I think that's what they did on this one.
Yeah. Now, if you are the type of person that just can't deal with not being able to see the whole table on the screen at the same time, this is not going to work for you. And there are other games that are around at the same time that do allow you to see the whole table. This game would have really benefited from the high def mode that Slam Tilt did. And I want to say that I think even the PC version of Pinball Fantasies had high def mode, even though the Amiga version didn't.
Do you ever use that mode?
Yeah, I use it all the time because I like seeing the whole table on the screen.
I never use it, though. I'm just so used to playing them like this, I guess.
I'm the same way whenever I play like Pinball FX or Pinball Arcade. I turn whatever view it is that lets me see the whole table at once. That's the view that I use.
I will say that all these tables have been ported to Visual Pinball and probably Future Pinball as well. So if you wanted to play these on a mod, you can play these full table on your virtual pinball machine if you wanted to. All right. In fact, I've played a couple of these. So these are popular, and they're so popular they got ported. And the ports are good. So if you're interested in playing that, they're out there. But yeah, this is easily a evolutionary game that like really took a long time for me to catch up. I did look some reviews up on this, and I know did we get any Discord action on this? Do you want to start with that, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, we can start with the Discord stuff.
What do you got?
Oh, we got several glowing reviews this week. We start with Lobsterminator. He says, "This game absolutely blew my mind when it came out. It did everything right, from the custom loader that seemed to load the disc version in mere seconds to the perfect gameplay. Pinball Dreams and Fantasies, which I think of as a single entity in my mind, are still my favorite pinball games. They achieved the perfect balance of fun playability while still remaining a computer game. I don't like the more advanced pinball games that perfectly replicate a 3D pinball cabinet. In my younger and more vulnerable years, I used to prefer Fantasies, but lately I've come to appreciate the simplicity of Dreams. 10 out of 10. Jason Warrens writes, "Fantastic. 9.5 out of 10. Lord Soup writes, "I remember when this first came out, my friends and I were hooked. My favorite pinball game ever. 10 out of 10. Paul, a.k.a. Hermsky, writes, "A Herm Firm 9.7 out of 10. Another classic that will never be forgotten. One that had me impressed by the Amiga having so many heated competitions with buddies, and one that did not need feeding with coins every few minutes." Flack writes, "I first experienced this on the PC and later the Amiga. The game's graphics are like a computer demo come to life. I'm no pinball expert, but the tables are fun, the graphics are great, and the music is great. Some tables are more fun than others, but none of them are terrible. Missing a few advanced features like multi-ball, but still fun. The Pinball series may be the greatest 2D pinball games of all time. 9 out of 10. Graham W. Vebke writes, "For the longest time, I felt pinball needed to stay on physical pinball machines. And while I still strongly believe this, I can say this is one of the few pinball games I can tolerate in video game form. It still doesn't give you the tactile feedback, which is part of the attraction to pinball, but at least the ball movement is well done. Decent variety of tables and a nice art style, and decent table layouts too. But some tables seem to play better than others. Steel Wheel is my pick. The sounds are well done and suit the themes. Probably one of the better pinball games on the Amiga. I prefer it over all the others, 8 out of 10. And finally, Pixels at Dawn writes, one of the first games I ever played on the Amiga as it came with my A600. As soon as the atmospheric synths and drums kick in over the 21st Century Entertainment logo, I'm ready to play. Even though the tables in Pinball Fantasies are an extra screen larger, I love the style and design of the Pinball Dreams one much more. They keep things simple and don't overcomplicate the rule set. Beatbox is easily the best table here, head and shoulders above the rest, with great gameplay on the table and a great soundtrack, but the whole game looks good, sounds good, and is just a great time. One of the games I still load up on a regular basis and have a great time. 8.5 out of 10. There you go, Aaron.
Very good. And, of course, we'll buzz through these real quick, but the actual reviewers were very similar. The people over at Lemon give this 8.68. Looking over these scores, Amiga Action, Amiga Computing, Format Power, they're all in the upper 80s. That's a little low, if you ask me. CU Amiga, 83, and Zero gave it 86. So pretty much everyone's in the 80s except for Dator Magazine from Germany, which gives it a 98. And the average magazine rating, 88. I would say this is easily an A game. I mean, I don't know how you could ever give this. Maybe they just didn't like video. Some people just were against pinball on the PC.
Yeah.
I mean,
some people think, and it's obvious by the fact that these guys had to shop around for a publisher.
Yeah.
Some people thought that putting pinball on a computer was a regression. You know,
they were wrong.
That was, they were wrong.
And one thing you got to remember is a lot of people, this is the only way you get to play pinball, and so you want good machines, and that's what this gave you. When you put down all the Amiga titles, like this one is one I played the most, and it's in my probably top 5. Just an outstanding title. And I will say one more thing, Bo, just 'cause I thought this is funny. I listened to the old show just this week, and you have done a 180 when it comes to beatbox. It was your favorite machine on the first show.
Really?
Yes, you should go back and listen to it. Now, I'm assuming when you did the original one, you probably didn't know as much about pinball, and you also probably didn't pay attention to the large wad of whatever is in the background. That can deter you, because it's funny. I don't pay attention to that much, but every once in a while I'll look up and I'll be like, what the hell is that? It's horrible. Otherwise, great. Oh, we should also mention, I'm glad you brought that up, Picard. A few years ago, this was ported to the Amstrad boat. In fact, didn't you just do a video on that a couple weeks ago?
I didn't. Duncan Styles. Actually, there are 2.
Yeah, you did one. Duncan, he did one.
Yeah, Duncan did the one that you really need to watch. It's a side-by-side, shot-by-shot comparison of the Amiga versus the Amstrad version of the CPC, and then I fired it up on the Mr. Core just to see how it played a couple weeks ago. So check both of those out.
Yeah, excellent stuff, and good stuff all around. But just a great playing game, man.
And a little real-time feedback from the chat. Mitsuyama says that Pinball Fantasies on the Amiga did, in fact, have high-def mode. So I was wrong about that. I'm sorry.
I never used the high-def mode myself. That's just me.
All right, Ann. Well, why don't we kick it on over to the YouTube channel to talk about what's been going on in the Amigos community this week.
Good idea, Boat. So we had an interesting week. We usually have something cooking, Boat. Let's talk about, I like to start it off here with me and the Brent. We're back at it again, Boat, as we often are on Sunday mornings. This time out, we had I said user, I'm turning it into Brent, a listener submission to play fishing games. Fishing games, Boat. And amazingly, what are the odds of this? One of the games that we picked was a pinball machine. It was from the Brent. He picked the fishing pinball machine, Fishtails. Have you ever played this one?
I have not played. I mean, I might have given it a run on the old Pinball Arcade, but I haven't spent a lot of time with it.
It's okay. It's not bad. I looked at an Amiga title. Amazingly, I'd never heard of this. It's called Gone Fishing, and let me tell you something. It looks simple, but it's actually a pretty darn cool game. It really is. This is the only game.
This is the only game that I can remember that you actually played better than Brent did.
Oh, that's not true. Come on, give me a break. But this was fun. And no, trust me, it took a long time. This is not one you're going to hop in and just start. This isn't like Sega bass fishing, man.
Right.
This is one where you got to get in there and figure out what's going on. But it's surprisingly deep. It really is, especially for a game that came fairly early in the Amiga.
I thought it was interesting that you have to do all of these things, including go to work in this game.
Because the first thing I did was not go to work.
when it comes to actually doing the main thing in fishing, which is the cast, you just click on where you want to go.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is once you've cast, you have to control the pole with the mouse, and it's actually, I mean... Listen, this is one you have to just try. That's all I can tell you. Gone Fishing, and by the way, this was a port from the ST. So, and you can get it also can be found under the name Real Fishing. So it's same game. So if you're interested in trying this out, give it a shot. I was surprised how much. And Brent, by the way, said this was a hidden gem. This is Brent saying that. So there you go.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun on that one. Now here's one. Here's one boat. We did a little thing called R. Sinclair boat, and tell the folks what we picked this time around.
So we did a casino game. We did Monte Carlo Casino.
Yeah.
So this is as far as I know, this is the only commercially released full casino simulation. I know that there is a fruit machine simulator that Codemasters put out, but this is the full Monte. You get it all. You get the blackjack, the poker, the craps.
Yeah.
And is it a great game? No. Is it pretty good for £2.99?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
So check it out, man. It's a pretty good show.
It was it was wacky. I enjoyed looking at the other ports too, which were one thing this game was. It was economical. They reused as much as they could.
Yeah, they did.
On their things, but yeah, check it out from our good buddies over at the Codemasters. They always have the good stuff. Boat. I was a witness to this event over on the Sprite Castle. Here he is, Jack Flack. Jack Flack is back. Barely. He's back with a Cinco de Mayo spectacular boat.
Ooh.
He put a game on here, boat, that's literally, I think they wrote it for you. And it's this game here where you're a drunk idiot at a bar and you have to stagger home. That's the game.
Man.
It is great.
That sounds amazing.
This is it. You're looking at it. It was so funny. I mean, the C64 has just a crazy back catalog. And this one right here. By the way, I've literally done this in real life. My buddy lived near a bar in Louisville, and we would walk over to it and have about 1,000 tons of drinks. And then it was time to walk back to his apartment, and you're doing everything to avoid everyone else. Try not to fall off the sidewalk. Try not to puke. So yeah, this is life imitating art. Then you also had. You had to get a little root beer tapper in. This actually had the Mountain Dew theming, so I guess this was truly root beer tapper. And then he also had to have some world games, cliff diving.
Oh my gosh, that guy he's not alive anymore.
These
There's
cliff divers are tough. From that. I was mentioning to him that like this sort of reminded me of Fiendish Freddy, where you dive into the little cup. That's what, this guy's just as tough as that guy. And then ends.
I hope we get that on a second look. I'd love to play that again.
We've never played World Games, have we?
No,
I don't think we did that one. And then
I'm talking about Fiendish Freddy. That's
yeah. Then he ends the stream in true Flack fashion with film footage or for pictures of his cruise. And this is
I've heard that Mexico is very, very similar to Egypt.
Listen, I don't want to listen to me. I'm talking just an Aztec pyramid. I know the difference, boat. Don't throw me under the bus here. There's a story that Flack tells about getting the bill for lunch that I don't want to ruin it, but it is it's worth watching this entire stream just to catch that story. It was top shelf, boat. So you know me, I like a wacky turn.
Who doesn't love a wacky Flack tale?
Yeah, you got that right, buddy. So yeah, check that out. It's our good buddy Jack Flack. Here we go, boat. Holy smokes. It's the Hermsky. Now what? Espionage Island Adventure D. You know it's an adventure when there's a letter.
It's the fourth one, apparently. How many Espionage Island adventures have you had?
Not nearly. Hey, Flack had one.
So
that right now.
That's true. So this is Hermsky back to business. He is going through this game. This is another text adventure in his own special way. And it seems like he's just got this endless supply of these things. And I guess that he must have just played a ton of these as a kid because he's able to get through these things without too much trouble. I stumble around in the dark for years with these things whenever I try and play one because I can't figure out how to put the battery in the flashlight.
I just can't imagine setting my son down in front of one of these things, loading it up, and being like, "Here you go, Lukester, have fun," and just walking out of the room. And then that would be all the. I may try that, and just to see what he possibly would do, because I just can't fathom it. It is completely different generation when it comes to gaming.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because, like I said, I've mentioned this before, I was never a huge fan of text games anyway. I guess you have to have a real vivid imagination or just be that kind of person, and I just wasn't that guy. But I did. Everyone had them because everyone played them because that's all there was for the longest time. So, but Hermsky's going to work. He's doing the Lord's work when it comes to playing these text games. He buzzes through this sucker pretty quick because we've seen him go for hours and hours before. So check out the Hermster. He's always up to something interesting over there. Boat, finally, bringing up the rear, but number one in our hearts, Boat, Frodo NL. He's back, and it's a continuation of his first year of Super Nintendo games, 1991. Boat, what are your favorites from that era? I see F-Zero here, for example.
Oh, I mean, just like a lot of systems, the real standout titles didn't come fast and heavy until about 3 years in with the Super Nintendo. However,
I'm seeing some good stuff here. Final Fight, R-Type.
Well, I'm talking about games that weren't just arcade ports. Now that's Legend of the Mystical Ninja. That one's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
From the first year, Link to the Past, I'm pretty sure came out in '91. Super Mario World, of course. Definitely not Paperboy 2. I used to own that for the Super Nintendo.
This looks pretty good. It's no good.
Well, it looks good, but it's just not. Well, Paperboy 2 is just not as much fun as Paperboy 1, in my opinion.
That house was armed with cannons, Boat.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm a huge Nintendo mark, so he can play whatever he wants, and I'll watch the heck out of it. Oh, Pilot Wings.
I can't
believe I forgot about Pilot Wings.
That was
one of the launch titles. Yeah, that's a fantastic game.
That would launch. They did the launch on.
Yeah, that was one of the launch titles. It was Pilot Wings, F-Zero, and something else. I think were the launch titles.
Wasn't there a Pilot Wings for was it the Wii or what? Didn't they launch it with
Pilot
it again?
It was Pilot Wings 64, and then the 3DS had a Pilot Wings.
Listen, Pilot Wings is awesome. The Brit's a big fan of the Pilot Wings. What about Super Castlevania 4, Bo?
Not a big Castlevania guy, at least not until Symphony of the Night. So this one, I've played this one a couple times. They're really, really hard games. Of course, Super Mario World, all-time classic.
It's funny to watch Frodo. If Frodo didn't naturally play the Marios, and so people continuously loved to make him play them. And I remember watching this.
It's like you in Barbie games.
So we had to mention the Barbie games. But anyway, Frodo, always a good time. A lively chat, and he's sort of like the roast master. He just sits back and plays the games and just lets it unfurl and makes a comment now and again. I love that. So there you go, Boatster. Some good video action this week, my friend.
All right. Now, Aaron, we do have the high score competitions going on. Still, they're continuously going on over on the Discord. We just started a new one. And it is on the old ZX Spectrum. We just started a Tick Attack, Aaron, one of your favorites and mine. This is
You're killing that game.
Couple scores up there right now. Of course, this is the ultimate play the game, which later on became rare. I'm definitely going to be submitting a score on this one because I love this game. The Amigos High Score Challenge continues until the end of next week. There is still time to become a member of the 9999 Club on Wrong Way Driver. So make sure you check that out. Again, if you want to become a member of our Discord community, all you have to do is sponsor the show on Patreon, patreon.com/Amigos podcast, become a supporter, or you can subscribe to us on Twitch, and you get access to our awesome Discord community.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, we're going to move right on down the line. Speaking of Patreon supporters, we have a new Amigos VIP this week, Aaron. The one, the only, Zebedee's Magic Roundabout has chosen to take that final step to become the Amigos VIP on Patreon, which gives him his own room, his own chat room on the Discord server. His own room is called VIP 223. Have my chances, they have me.
Hey, listen,
I think that's a British thing.
When you attain the VIP status, you can come up with whatever wacky name you want because you are King Dong. or to a
That's
certain
right.
lesser extent, Queen Dong. So congratulations, Zebedee, for becoming king, one of the few King Dongs.
And in addition to Zeb, we also have a new Amigos game selection committee member. And I can think of no finer man to add to that team than the one, the only, Sweden's finest, Barkbit.
That's right. A staff of King Dongs right there.
Yeah. So we welcome both Zeb and Barkbit to the AGSC.
Absolutely.
They are going to be choosing some fantastic games for us coming up. I truly believe it.
I hope, please.
I want to talk about the Patreon song, Aaron, last week. The Patreon song. This was one that was funny because we always have lots of European folks in the chat. You know, they dominate the show. They dominate the podcast. They dominate the network. They're taking over.
They dominate the world, really. Okay. Their influence can't be denied.
To a man, they're all like, what in the world is this? Nobody'd ever heard of it. And this is an example of one of these bands that just made no impact overseas, you know, and then I'm sure they've got bands like Shakin' Stevens, you know, that's probably their new hot band that never didn't have any appearance over here.
College music.
So, so it was a band called Jane's Addiction. They were a popular, they were one of the first alternative rock bands that actually bore that moniker. Jane's Addiction actually founded Lollapalooza, which I wasn't aware of until I was doing some research. But anyway, the name of the song was Jane Says. Probably the happiest song about heroin addiction you'll ever hear.
Yeah, that's what their addiction was. That name was appropriate for that.
Yeah. They were all those guys, all those guys strung up on greenies.
Yeah, they were alternative. Their alternative to food was drugs. That's what they used, particularly the lead singer.
So of course I want to congratulate you, Aaron, for getting it right off the bat. But of course, for the first, Rob is the man when it comes to this stuff. He 3 seconds in, he sent me an email. Number one with a bullet. Rob O'Hara, congratulations. But Scumboy also got it. Kate Fox, David Z from AZ got it. Pac Billy, of course, he's a savant, and Hat Chad ringing in with the correct answer.
I would hope. I would hope they would know that. With a lot of Americans in that mix boat, you're right. Yeah.
So we move on to this week's Patreon Song Challenge. This is for the second week in a row. We feature the Patreon band featuring Graham W. Vebke on the skins and Lob Terminator playing the sixth string this week, Aaron.
Yeah.
So if you know this week's Patreon Song Challenge, send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com, and I will announce you as the winner on next week's show.
This one's going to go down hard, folks. Just warning
Let's
you.
do it, man.
Times.
Seth Yates, Alistair Fiend, Christian Russell, David Z, George Rosazansky, the Amiga Show, Daniel Crabtree, Super Famicom, Crazy Loomis, William, Banter Scott, Heavy Systems Inc., Bundy Fragment Lord, Mark Byland, Olaf Hope, Hermsky, Jonah, a.k.a. Simulant, Alien Breeder, David Losser, Raptor, Cowboy Boy, Langdonson, Luke Hudson, John Coe, Bomb the Bass, Frodo and El Solin, Sizer, Techmate Jurgen, Mr. Cola, Daniel Williams, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington, Zorgla, Reflection, Simon Ledge, Captain Crispy, Kilobytes and Caffeine, Gary Heather, Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Vlogs, Terminator, 10-minute Amiga Retrocast, Bernard Quinn, RMC, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Etter, Rob O'Hara, Matthew Barrymore. Andy Craig, Shanzo Barkbit, Roland Burke, Andrew Monk Show, the Zombie League headline, Alan Bob Checo, Taylor the Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRocha, Creepy Dead Boy, Piggy C, TZ, The Slow Norris, Stefan Sorgar, Mortensen, Edvin Helen Lindo, 75, Christopher Russell, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foles, Lauren Giroux, Graham Baptiste, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro Inventor, Gary Hucker, Paul Bossman Harrington, Duncan Stiles, Tips from the Crib, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Ruler, THG, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy Rubenstein, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warrens, Texas Adon, and Kjolbjorn Mark.
Holy moly. What the? Holy cow. That was absolutely horrible. It was so bad it's actually destroyed your window. You have completely left the screen. Well, listen, everyone. As you can see, Boat's internet's hit the wall. It's almost over for it. So I'm going to take us to the house here. Let me just say that next week, we would be honored if you would turn out. We're doing a little show called Amigos 300. We've hit the big 300 next week. And we're going to do a little celebration. A lot of wacky antics, a lot of wacky footage that I've been digging up. More bad singing than any show should feature. And some on-location stuff. We're going to have a lot of fun. And we would love it if you come out and join us next week for the big 300th episode. It should be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to it. And we have been putting a lot of time into getting it ready to go. So if you can make it out, we'd appreciate it. Also, I want to mention that I'll be back tonight streaming at my usual time, 8:30 for the pre-show, 9 o'clock for the show. Tonight we'll be doing Neo Geo games, both. Neo Geo. I think that's all we got. We appreciate everybody turning out. Big crowd today. And we hope you'll join us next week on Amigos 300. Until then, we both bid you a fine adios.
Adios.